Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and to another instalment in the Sydney Railroad build. If you were watching a couple of weeks ago, you may have seen the first instalment on the backdrops for the lower level. For this week's offering, I'm going to finish those backdrops. So without further ado, let's just head out to the workshop and get to work. With the canyon seam backdrops complete, I am now back at the other end of the railroad. I'm in the corner near Maidstone Junction. There it is, just to give you reference. I've got to get another sharply curved piece of backdrop around the back in that corner. Similar to this one, but it'll go further back and it's a much tighter radius. I'm going to start by getting in the first two C-posts, mainly because I cut those pieces months ago, so I might as well get them in. And then I will work my way back this way. At this end, all the posts will need to do is support the backdrop. They won't need to be strengthened for cantilevers for the upper deck. Anyway, let me get those first two posts in and I'll be right back. Well, I think I said earlier that I was going to do the first two posts. I ended up doing 4. I had previously cut 4 side pieces. For some reason I made them way too long before. I'm not sure if I miscalculated. More than likely I wasn't sure how long to make them, so I just made sure that they were plenty long enough. They're easy to cut off in situ once the cantilevers are installed. Well, it seemed like this framing just went on forever. But I am now ready to put in the backdrops. This piece has to be curved around quite a sharp radius, and it also has to be cut down to 8 inches deep where it passes over these tracks, which actually is a good thing because it makes it a lot easier to bend. It will just be glued flat to this piece of 1/2 inch plywood, and it will come in to this framing wherever it wants to. But only the curve will be cut down to 8 inches. The straight bits at both ends will be 13 inches high. And then the backdrop will run 13 inches all the way along there. So anyway, let me get cutting some masonite and I'll be right back. Well, that's 2 pieces of backdrop installed in this corner. This curved piece is a full 8 foot length, and that's where I ended up. Well, it could have been a couple of inches either way, but I may as well break it on the framing. It makes it a lot easier to put the next piece in. It saves a splice plate. Anyway, that is all my clamps used up, and it's also my target for the day. That's as far as I expected to get. I came out here again last night for a short time and added this short piece in, the piece that was missing. So now the backdrop is continuous from the end around the curve and as far as here. Before I continue, I have to cut some more strips on the table saw because I used up everything I already had. So let me do that and I'll be right back. Well, I've had a pretty productive morning. This was the last post that I did yesterday, and I have 7 more built this morning. I'm going to go in and get some food, and then I'm going to come out this afternoon and start putting backdrops on them. Well, I've got to frame backdrops first. So stay tuned and I will be right back. Well, that is another 30 feet of posts and backdrop installed. I started here and worked my way down, recycling the clamps as I went. And it's only 3 o'clock, so it's a short day, but it's a good productive day. I'm going to go in now. I've got to get ready to go out because I'm meeting some people later this afternoon. I doubt I'll be out here tomorrow because it's Sunday and I've got a lot of stuff I need to do inside. So Monday I will continue around this corner and across the end. So stay tuned and I'll see you then. It's Monday morning and I have already recycled all the clamps and removed the temporary screws on the backdrop that I did on Saturday. Today's project is to extend it around the corner and along the end wall. I don't expect to get quite as far as I did Saturday because all this is awkward stuff. I've got to work out how each post goes, whereas on Saturday it was just 4 pieces exactly the same and 8 posts the same. So I'm just going to turn the camera off and get busy. I already have the first support post in. I've got to figure out what's needed in the way of corner posts, and then there will be another conventional C-bracket here, except that I've got to modify the framing around this area. I've got to cut this off, and I think I have to shave the piece that goes in there. But it's more or less a standard post, so it's not that hard. The one this side I've got to make up as I go along, and then there'll be another cantilever post here. I got this piece done this morning. It's one full 8-foot length. It's a few inches short of this benchwork joint, but I knew it would be. I will splice another piece in later. Once I got this finished, I went in for a bit because my allergies were killing me. I feel a little bit better now. So this afternoon's project is to work on this end. And before I can get the curved backdrop in at the end of the scene, I've got to put some formers in where the trash can is now. I do have one offcut of 1/2-inch plywood, which might be big enough, or it might not. I might have to cut a whole new sheet. I hope I don't have to cut a new sheet because the 1/2-inch stuff is under the masonite. Anyway, let me work on getting this curve in. It's going to be the same size as the curve in this corner. I think I did it a 36-inch radius. Yes, it is. I even marked it there. It's 36-inch radius. So I'm going to copy that curve over this side, and then I will know exactly where the backdrop needs to end. So let me do that, and I will be right back. Well, I only came out for a couple of hours yesterday afternoon. I went back in again. I'm still feeling sick, so I can only do a few hours at a time. But here's how far I got with that corner. I added framing in the hole. I've got the curve cut. Here it is. Got to get the clamps out of the way first. I clamped and weighted this top piece of plywood because I didn't want screws in it. It's just going to be an open shelf for the client to use as he sees fit. This frame up here is for the end of the backdrop, and then there'll be a curve around where the drill is standing, and then I'll work back towards the middle of the room. So let me get back to work, get these clamps out of the way, and I'll check in with you again periodically during the day. Well, that is the next piece of backdrop installed. I've got the same method that I used near the helix with the block at the end, and once everything's set, I'll just pull that to the curve and then force it into alignment with another piece across the front there. But that will be a job for a little bit later because I want to give the glue time to set first. So let me go in, do some other stuff inside, and then I'll come back out later and continue. Well, here is the piece across the rollout section. I won't be attaching it to the benchwork at all. Instead, I got these tabs in the 4 corners and I can put screws in for final installation. But for the rest of construction, it won't be there. As soon as I finish the backdrops, I will take it out and just keep it safe. Anyway, I've cut this piece to size, but I can't put it in place until I get the clamps out of the way. And also at this end, I've got to do the next piece, but once again, I've got these clamps here because I forgot to put this piece in earlier when I should have done. So I'm back to waiting again. It's just the nature of the job, but not to worry. One more session this afternoon and the backdrops will be done. So stay tuned and I will be right back. Well, here is that same section properly attached with the screws and all the clamps removed, and the next piece clamped in place. Now all that remains to do is remove these clamps off here and finish that curved end of the backdrop. Well, it was a bit of a fight to get it in because of the benchwork above it, as I suspected, but there it is. The curve is all gluing up, as is the rest of it. It would not go in one piece because of the limited clearance over the framing here, so I had to cut it and two-piece it, and I will glue the last piece in once those clamps have had time to do their job. So once I've done that, the backdrops for the lower level will be complete. The next step will be to spackle all the gaps and the screw holes and to get it painted. Even if I end up not doing the scenery, it's beneficial to get it painted because it gets a uniform colour on it, and it's a lot easier to see when the spackling job is complete because the imperfections will show up better. Well, it's Wednesday morning. I only have a short time out of the day. I've already removed all the clamps and the temporary screws. The two tasks I have planned for this morning: finish the backdrop at this end and also put some bracing in the back to hold this piece at the right distance from that post. Shouldn't take very long, but then, as I said, I don't have very long because I'm meeting somebody in a couple of hours for an early Thanksgiving lunch. So I'm just going to turn the camera off and get to work, and I'll talk to you again later. Well, that didn't take me anywhere near as long as I thought it might. So I've also finished the curve around this corner. Even though that is really a part of the fascia, I figured I may as well just get it done. So that's a wrap as far as constructing the backdrops is concerned. As I mentioned earlier, next task is to spackle the imperfections and get it painted. But that will be a task for another day. I will go to Lowe's, get all the stuff I need for that while I'm out this afternoon. So stay tuned, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Well, I was a little disappointed this morning when I first got out here because the spackle was still pale pink, suggesting that it wasn't fully dry. Didn't surprise me because it's pretty cold at the moment and I don't like running the heat unnecessarily. But I got this sanding sponge out and it sanded perfectly satisfactorily. So I guess it was dry enough. Anyway, having done that, the next step is to get out the paint and get some paint on it. I couldn't find the exact colour that I was looking for at Lowe's yesterday, but I got something close enough. Well, that is the first coat of blue on. All the backdrops have the first coat of paint. And around here, where you can't see from where I was just now, there are a few places where the spackling needs touching up, and those are marked with blue painter's tape. So I will come back out in a couple of hours and touch up those areas, and then hopefully by the end of the day I can paint it a second time. Well, I came out just before lunch and spackled over all the imperfections. I was careful to keep the patches as thin as possible so they can dry as quickly as possible, and I think they're okay. I'm going to see if they'll sand now, and if so, I can get the painting done, and then it'll have time to dry before it gets too cold overnight. So let me just turn the camera off, get to work, and I'll be right back. Well, that seemed to work okay. I've sanded everything. There was only a few places. I've left the blue tape where it is for now, the idea being that I can still easily find the places, because when I get the paint out, the first thing I'm going to do is cover the touched up areas, and then I'm going to go around and start from one end and work my way to the other. That way, even the areas I've just touched up will still have two coats of blue paint on top of the spackle. So once again, I'm going to turn the camera off, and I'll see you again soon. Well, that is the whole backdrop through both scenes, fully painted, two coats. If it looks like there is some variation, that is just differences in drying time, drying speed. Some areas are still wetter than others, and there may also be some shadows. but they're not imperfections. I'm going to call that a day. I'm going to go in now. All I can sensibly do is avoid kicking up dust while that dries. And I think that winds up this video quite nicely. That's the end of the backdrop process. So I'll see you next week with something completely different. Well, that's all for this week. Hope you enjoyed the video, found it useful or interesting or both, and hope to see you back next time. Not quite sure what video it is next week. I think it's another cab ride, but I could be mistaken. Anyway, whatever it is, I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun, and I hope to see you back then. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and bye for now.